In China today, the unemployment rate for young people between the ages of 16 and 24, who are not in school, stands at 17.8%. This figure is dangerously close to the point where the Bureau of Statistics might once again halt the publication of this data. The numbers don't lie, they are mercilessly exposing a harsh reality. Young people are being thrown into a black hole with no way out. An avalanche doesn't happen in an instant. It's the result of countless individual snowflakes accumulating. The 17.8% figure we see today is not an isolated piece of data, but a consequence of a chain reaction that began with the 21.3% rate in 2023. You might recall that in July 2023, the National Bureau of Statistics announced that youth unemployment had hit a new record high of 21.3%. Just 1 month later, the data release abruptly stopped. The government simply announced it would suspend publishing the figures. At that time, many people understood that the true situation was likely even more severe than the numbers indicated. In 2024, the Chinese Communist Party changed its approach, claiming it was optimizing its statistical methodology. As a result, the youth unemployment rate for 16 to 24-year-olds began to climb again from 14.9%. Now, a year later, it has risen back to 17.8%, just a hair's breadth away from its all-time high. Behind this number is the grim reality for over 17 million young people, a generation that has lost its future, whether they are in the streets, in small rental rooms, or back in their hometowns. If data serves as a warning, then the collapse of confidence acts as a chain reaction. Once public confidence vanishes, it's like a crack in a snow-covered mountain, ready to give way at any moment. Chinese youth today are fueling a crisis of social trust with their despair. The summer of 2025 has been dubbed the most difficult job season in history, with 12.22 million college graduates entering the workforce, 430,000 more than the previous year. There's a dark joke that says, your unemployment certificate is handed to you the moment you graduate. It's a bitter joke, but one that reflects the current reality. July should be the prime season for the job market, yet the unemployment rate has spiked to an 11-month high. The period from July to September is typically a high unemployment season, as millions of graduates flood the market. But this year is even more brutal. The job market lacks new positions, and the number of new jobs has declined year over year. The result is a dual crisis. Young people can't find work, and companies are conducting widespread layoffs. Some people hold out hope, saying that things will improve in the golden September, silver October. The problem, however, is that China's economic fundamentals have already collapsed. In July, the National Urban Surveyed unemployment rate rose to 5.2%. It was also 5.2% in 31 major cities, a 4-month high. This isn't just a seasonal fluctuation, it's a systemic breakdown. A detail that should not be overlooked is that the unemployment rate for 25 to 29-year-olds has also climbed to 6.9%, 0.4 percentage points higher than the same period last year. This signifies that it's not just recent graduates who are struggling, but also those who have been in the workforce for a few years. The entire youth demographic is being abandoned by the economy. Official figures put the unemployment rate at 17.8%. However, research by scholars reveals a more terrifying truth. Zheng Dandan, an associate professor at Peking University, once stated that if you include the 16 million young people who lie flat, mooch off their parents, and let things rot, meaning they neither work nor look for work, the youth unemployment rate in 2023 could have been as high as 46.5%. Lie flat, mooch off their parents, and let things rot, meaning they neither work nor look for work. What does 46.5% mean? It means almost half of all young people are without a job. This is higher than the worst years of the Latin American debt crisis, and even higher than the youth unemployment rate during the Greek debt crisis. At that time, Greek youth were labeled a lost generation. Today, China is following the same path. While the government desperately optimizes its statistics, reality is creating an even larger void. Millions of young people have completely withdrawn from the labor market, becoming fake office workers, full-time children, full-time grandchildren, or choosing the underground existence of a rat person. Millions of young people have completely withdrawn from the labor market, becoming fake office workers, full-time children, full-time grandchildren, or choosing the underground existence of a rat person. A strange new industry has emerged in Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen, paying to go to work. Unemployed young people, in order to avoid questions from their parents and to maintain an illusion of respectability, pay 30 to 50 yuan a day to use shared office spaces, where they pretend to have jobs. Some are genuinely looking for opportunities, while others spend the entire day watching shows or playing games. They say that pretending to go to work is their last shred of dignity. A dignity they have to purchase with their own money. The Chinese job market has made an entire generation pay for a false sense of reality, but it can't provide them with a real job. Even more absurd, many universities require students to complete an internship to graduate. Consequently, these fake work companies have become a profitable business, offering services like providing employee ID cards, attendance records, and even helping to write weekly internship reports. Young people are pretending to work, all while pretending their lives haven't been completely shattered. On a larger scale are the young people who have simply given up on trying. They no longer chase the demanding 996 work culture or dream of buying a home, getting married, or receiving promotions. Instead, they lie flat on their beds, scrolling through short videos and living off food deliveries. The term "let it rot" has become their philosophy. They believe it's better to make a minimal effort for minimal pressure than to struggle to climb from the bottom. They say, "It's not that I didn't try, I tried and found there was no way out." More extreme are the rat people, who mimic rats by staying indoors during the day and being active at night, with their days and nights reversed. They live at home, supported by their parents. On social media platforms like Xiaohongshu and Douyin, they don't post about getting up at 4 a.m. to work hard. Instead, they post selfies of themselves lying in bed at 4 p.m. This is a blatant rejection of mainstream values. For them, effort is futile, and the future is an empty void. If the previous generation were mortgage slaves, this generation are unemployment slaves. There's also a group known as full-time children. They quit their jobs and move back home, living on their parents' salaries or pensions in exchange for so-called contributions to the family. Some are responsible for household chores, while others provide companionship for their elderly parents. A more extreme version is the full-time grandchild, who lives off their grandparents' pensions, spending their days chatting and shopping for groceries. These seemingly loving choices are, in fact, a side effect of a completely broken job market. Young people have no jobs, so they retreat to their families, turning their parents and grandparents into their last social safety net. But how long can parents and grandparents provide this support? How long can pensions last? This is a ticking time bomb. Without income, young people have no spending power, and consumption is the heart of the economy. When the heart stops, the entire body dies. Over the past 3 years, China's consumer market has been in a precarious state. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics shows that in 2024, total retail sales of consumer goods grew by only 4.2% year over year, far below the pre-pandemic average. In the first half of this year, sales in restaurants, clothing, and home appliances all saw a general decline. Even more striking is the food sector. In 2024, sales of Master Kong instant noodles, a national staple, dropped by 1.1 billion packages. Why? Because unemployed young people don't have money and have to scrimp even on instant noodles, let alone on an iPhone or a house. Consumer confidence has been burst like a bubble. When young people lie flat, let things rot, and stop pursuing cars, houses, and weddings, the first thing to collapse is the consumer market. When young people lie flat, let things rot, and stop pursuing cars, houses, and weddings, the first thing to collapse is the consumer market. Houses don't sell, cars don't sell, cosmetics don't sell. The latest data from the Bureau of Statistics reveals that in July 2025, commercial housing sales decreased by 8.7% year over year, continuing a decline for more than 12 consecutive months. The used home market is even worse, with listings surging in some cities while transactions have plummeted. Unemployed young people have no ability to buy a home, and even those with jobs don't earn enough to afford the inflated prices. But how long can parents and grandparents provide this support? How long can pensions last? This is a ticking time bomb. Without income, young people have no spending power, and consumption is the heart of the economy. When the heart stops, the entire body dies. Over the past 3 years, China's consumer market has been in a precarious state. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics shows that in 2024, total retail sales of consumer goods grew by only 4.2% year-over-year, far below the pre-pandemic average. Data shows that in the first half of 2025, the national average home price-to-income ratio was still a staggering 27. This means an average young person would have to work for 27 years without spending a cent to afford a home. So they have simply dropped out of the game. Some say, buying a house, I'll find a job first. Others have accepted their fate, believing, the housing market is the last generation's game. Our generation can't even afford the ticket. Once the housing market loses its younger generation, it loses its future buyers. The Chinese real estate market is entering a desperate cycle with no one to take over. Chinese leaders have for years spoken of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, repeatedly emphasizing that young people should be patriotic, work hard, and contribute their youth to building a strong nation. But the reality is that many young people don't even have a job. A country needs its youth to innovate, work, and pay taxes to develop. But now, half of them are living off their parents. The government calls for a military-style long march spirit, yet young people are at home playing video games, watching TikTok, and ordering food delivery. This disconnect is tearing society apart. On one side, there are the passionate young people in official propaganda videos, and on the other, the real-world full-time children and rat people. This is a massive gap between illusion and reality. Some experts warn that if this continues, China may produce a long-term lost generation who will have no savings, no professional skills, and no sense of social responsibility. A lost generation is enough to cripple a country's future. Youth unemployment is not merely an economic issue, it is a threat to social stability. History has shown that countries with long-term high youth unemployment rates often experience widespread social unrest. The Arab Spring in 2011 was fueled by high youth unemployment. In the Greek debt crisis, unemployed young people took to the streets, leading to anti-government protests. In China today, 17.8% is just the official number. The real figure may already be closer to 30% or 40%. Just imagine tens of millions of unemployed young people with no work and no hope, living off their parents and grandparents. If the family safety net collapses one day, what will they choose to do? The avalanche has already begun and no one is safe. Thanks for watching and joining us on this journey to unveil China's many layers. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and hit that subscribe button to stay updated. See you in the next video.